where it'll be impossible to walk anywhere without being recognized.
When you create yourself to make it, you're going to have to either let that creation go and take a chance on being loved or hated for who you really are, or you're going to have to kill who you really are and fall into your grave grasping onto a character that you never were. I saw this psychic palm reader sign, and she gave me a reading, and she said, "You're about to do 3 things, 3 movies that will be very, very, very big and very important, and after that, it will be impossible for anyone to knock you down from that place." I worked in factories. I had a 9th grade education. And it's a series of like crushing disappointments, and I just go into a different gear. I go into, don't know how it's gonna write itself, but it will, you know? I don't know how. I mean, I'm the guy who wrote the $10 million check to himself and had it come to fruition. I'm the guy who had the substitute teacher in grade 2 who said that, you know, whenever I want something, I pray to the Virgin Mary and I ask her for it and I promise something in return and I get whatever I want.
So didn't you write yourself a check? I heard that you did. Is that true?
I wrote myself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and I gave myself 5 years.
My dad could never afford a bicycle, so I went, okay. I went home and I prayed for a bicycle and promised I'd say the rosary in return, and then I got a bicycle. Showed up in my living room. Brand new Mustang bike. I put it in one of the scenes in Eternal Sunshine. A Mustang bike with a banana seat.
Just before Thanksgiving 1995, I found out that I was going to make $10 million.
So you visualized?
From then on, it was whenever I wanted something to happen, I manifested it. I stood there in an open field like this with my arms out.
Can you tell me about your dad?
My father was not only the funniest man in the room, but he was a fantastic saxophone player. And before I was born, he had an orchestra in Toronto. But, you know, in order to be something special, you had to leave Canada and come down to the States and prove yourself in the States. He was a little bit afraid of that transition, and also he had a family to take care of, so he became an accountant. And as time wore on, it wore him down, you know, it wore him down, and he got a little bit bitter, especially when he lost his job when he was 51. That really broke him. Not only was he compromising to raise a family, but when you compromise and you fail, it really hurts. It hurts even more than failing at what you love. So that was an example for me.
And a lot of people don't know this, but when I was about 14 or 15, my father lost his job, and I actually became homeless for quite some time. Of course, I grew up in Canada, so I thought we had just gone camping, you know. But,
I learned that you can fail at what you don't love, so you might as well do what you love. There's really no choice to be made. What you want to be, you know?
Where did that transition take place?
Somewhere in the middle of absolute confusion, absolute disappointment, absolute the fruition of all of my dreams, standing there with everything anybody else had ever dreamed about having, and being unhappy. Where did this character come from? What is the dirt that the pearl is built around? And the pearl is the personality that you build around yourself as a protection against that thought. If they ever find out that I'm worthless, if they ever find out that I'm not enough, I'll be destroyed. I don't want anything. That's the craziest thing, and it's the weirdest thing to say in a place like America, where I have no ambition. I really, truly don't.
So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying, I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. Because life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. How do I know this? I don't, but I'm making sound, and that's the important thing. That's what I'm here to do. Sometimes I think that's the only thing that's important, really, you know? It's just letting each other know we're here. Yeah. Reminding each other that we're part of a larger self.
It was more like you're supposed to say, you know, we're important, and you're supposed to say it's all going to be all right, and you're supposed to say that, you know, whatever you dream can come true, and you're supposed to say all those things. I do believe in manifestation, power of that kind of stuff, but I don't believe that any of it matters. You know, this mattering is to me a human construct, born out of a need, the same need as you have to have, you know, deities and things like that. I mean, I believe in an energy of God, an energy of, you know, everything is divine. You know, there's just not, there's no thing that isn't divine. Everything is divine, and I'm that. And it doesn't matter to me what's happening. I'm finding that ultimately the freedom from it is something people are kind of hungry for in a way. Right. They're like, I don't want to be me either. Right. You know, and I go, well, great, because you never have been. I believe that I had to become a famous, you know, idea and get all the stuff that people dream about and accomplish a bunch of things. You know what this means, don't you? You know, that look like success in order to give up my attachment to those things. It's been a part of the evolution of ego is to spend your first half of your life acquiring and adding, thinking you can add to yourself, and it looks great. I mean, it looks great when you got a cool car and you got good, nice clothes, and you know, and you've done something that people admire, but it can never fulfill you. You can never be happy. You know what I mean? It's not where happiness comes from. And you know, I dealt with depression, you know, a few years ago, and people still think, well, he's going through, you can tell he's depressed. It's not. I have no depression in my life whatsoever. Literally none. I have sadness and joy and elation and satisfaction and gratitude beyond belief, but all of it is weather. And it just spins around the planet, you know? It doesn't sit on me long enough to kill me. The happy place is realizing that you're everything, you know, and that there's no real you involved in the first place. You know, it's a weird little semantic jump that you make where it sounds like, well, that's totally fucking threatening, man. I can't not be me. I built this construct. And it's just ideas. Right. They're just ideas. You know, the only thing that separates you from an African American or an African Canadian is an idea. You know, and the weather, the adaptation to the climate, and whatever it is, I don't believe in any of it. And so, the feeling of wholeness is a different feeling than meanness. They're all characters that I played, including Jim Carrey, including
Joel Barish, including any of those things, they're all characters. You know, Jim Carrey was a less intentional character,
Right.
because I thought I was just building something that people would like, but it was a character, you know, so it's, you know, I played the guy that was free from concern so that people who watched me would be free from concern, you know, and then at a certain point you go like, okay, well, that's great, but you know, it's like the one thing, like people talk about depression all the time, the difference between depression and sadness is just, you know, from happenstance, whatever happened or didn't happen for you, or, you know, grief or whatever it is. And depression is your body saying, fuck you, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created in the world. It's too much for me,
Right.
you know? And you should think of the word of depressed as deep rest. Deep rest. Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character that you've been trying to play. You know, the great and powerful Oz. I'm the great and powerful Oz. How dare you come near me? You know, kind of thing. And you're just the sweaty guy behind the curtain going. It's an amazing metaphor, you know, in that movie.